am Melissa Forziat. I'm a keynote speaker and the host of this Halt and Catch Fire rewatch podcast. Now, when I speak, my topic is something that I call Take the Doughnut, which for me is another way to say carpe diem. It's all about going after the things you want in life. Something I wanted to do this year was rewatch the show Halt and Catch Fire, but this time talk about it with other people, all of you. And then something unexpected happened, and I started to be able to talk with people who worked on this show about the show. And so we're going to get another great interview today. And before I introduce the lovely guest that you see on screen, quick housekeeping item on this one. Look, if you're brand new to the show Halt and Catch Fire and you don't want spoilers, the interviews aren't necessarily safe for you. We could talk about anything from any aspect of the show, any season of the show, especially this one. This is going to be a season 4 related interview. If you are new to the show and you want something that's spoiler free up until the episode you're on, the recaps are for you to start with. And then you can come back and watch this interview. But I am so excited to dive into it with my guest for today, who is Melanie Newby, who played Lorraine for 4 episodes of season 4. Welcome.
Yes. Hi. Hello. I am Melanie J. Newby, and yeah, I am ready to dive in. This was such a treat being invited onto this podcast, so I'm ready to jump in.
Let's do it. Obviously there's going to be a ton of questions about season 4, but I think first we need to know, how did you get connected with this show to begin with? What was that process?
Yeah, well, I have been an actor 13 years now. And so this was probably, I want to say, towards the beginning of my career. I had my agents and had a manager. And so I'd gotten an audition breakdown from my agents, and I was I was looking at the audition, and it was very short. It was very short and sweet. I had one line, I had one word, and the word was yo. So that was my audition. And I remember, it was 90s themes, it was 80s, 90s, and I didn't even really have anything that fit that time. So I went to Forever 21 and I bought some overalls, some jean overalls, and I had a jersey, it was like a old school Redskins jersey that I put on under my overalls, and then I put my hair in like a mohawk, and I had like these big hoop earrings. And yeah, we did a self-tape audition, and literally my only words were yo, and I got a call back. And and again it was just yo. Like that was it. And so I think I went to the callback with maybe like 3 or 4 other women, and I wore the same outfit that I came up with. It was for the casting agency, the Finn Cannons. Met with them, and they ended up going with me in the end. And so I always get jokes from my family who they're like, oh yeah, she booked 4 episodes of this show off of just saying the word yo. So it might go down in history as like the shortest audition to ever book. I don't know.
We've heard a lot of audition stories, and like so far this is on the very short list for my absolute favorite ones of how people got onto this show. I'm just trying to imagine this. Like, how do you distinguish your yo from everybody else's yo, and how did they decide that your yo was better than everybody else's yo?
I don't know. It's a science. So you got to ask the casting.
That's not your pay grade, right?
It's not my job.
I just say yo. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I said it really long. I remember it was like, yo, or something, I don't know. I just I made it fun. I had fun with it. So,
And then it was a self tape. So you just like, how many variations of yo did you self tape? And then you just decided which one?
yeah, I mean, you can really get in the weeds with that. It's one of the things that I miss about the in-person auditions is where it's just kind of like one and done, and you're like, either it is or it isn't. But with self-tapes, you're just like, oh, I don't think I like that inflection. Let me do it again. But yeah, in the end, I guess I picked the right one. So
It's like looking at color swatches when you want to paint your walls or
yeah.
something. It's like, but this
I also
shade.
I also invest in real estate and do design, so those are very similar feelings. Here, just too many paint colors.
Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So how much did you, so you booked the role off of the word yo. How much did you know about the show when you took the role on?
I didn't know anything. I didn't know anything about it. As with like most most times when actors get an audition for something, I mean, unless it's a massive show with like all the press, like oftentimes we won't know too much about it. So, of course, I had to do some research. So, thankfully, like coming into season 4, I had some episodes to look at to research. And so, of course, I started with season 1, and as I was watching, I was like, this show is pretty good. I'm actually gonna get into it. And so, I got into it more, and so by the time I did the callback and everything, I was like, I really hope I book this, because this would be a really special show, something really great to be a part of.
Yeah. And then you come in for season 4, and let's establish what it felt like to be on set for this point, because it's the 4th and final season of the show.
Mhm.
You and a number of people you're coming in with are brand new, but the show is established, but an ending is coming soon. That's like quite a mix of things happening. So for
Yeah.
you coming on set, what did that feel like?
I mean, I'll definitely say it felt special. I think we all knew that we were nearing the end, right? And so I I think it was kind of reassuring, because to me it felt like I had a beginning, middle, and end, so that I could have like a really good arc to not only my character but to the group, and what our group symbolized, what was special about our group. So I felt like we could all come up with these character arcs to help, I guess, make a pretty little bow at the end of the series. But I actually think it helped knowing about the end, rather than hurt, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, okay, with that in mind, Lorraine comes in, she's part of the Comet team.
Hmm.
We do know that Lorraine came from Tower Records.
Hmm.
How much of a backstory did you create, or did you even need to create for this role?
I didn't really need to create one, especially since I'm coming on saying yo, but I did want to have a bit of understanding of my character. I felt like she takes her job very seriously, um, and is much like myself, happy-go-lucky and easygoing, but ready to get down to business when the time comes. So that was kind of the energy that I brought in, with fleshing out my character, and how she interacted in her world.
Mm. So, you right out of the gate. So in 404, we get Tanya and Nancy, that episode. And we're introduced to your character by Joe McMillan, who's sort of walking another character around the office and making intros.
Yeah,
Lee Pace is going to lean right into your space and have a
yeah.
quick aside with Lorraine that we don't really hear a lot of exchange here, but we can see it happening. Tell us about working with Lee Pace.
He was really, really cool. He was very like business. He like kind of kept to himself sometimes, but also very sweet. Like we knew that he was so far away from home. Him like working and living out of New York, and having a lot of family up north in Canada and things of that nature. And I just remember like him wanting to find that sort of community in Atlanta, which is where we shot it. And he had his dog with him on set, so everybody would play with the dog, and that was like really part of like being on set. So that was really great. But I just really remember how, how nice and straightforward Lee was. Yeah,
Nice.
really,
Yeah.
really awesome guy.
And that's basically the first interaction that you have with, I guess, anybody
Hmm.
on the show.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really interesting about that space, and like you went back and you watched the seasons prior, but you would have probably found in that process that every season kind of reinvents itself.
Yeah, very different.
And this season had to reinvent itself in that office area. I mean, that was a location that was used in season 3, but feels very different to me. In season 3, it felt like, especially in contrast to the season 2 Mutiny House, it felt like a very big, dark space in terms of its lighting. It felt like, in the Mutiny House in season 2, we were really very close to all of the characters and the whole team. So it felt like we were kind of in the action. But in season 3, it felt like we were very distant. So now we go into season 4, still using that same big office space. And it feels like it's got more energy and more light. And it almost is not recognizable as the same space.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how much discussion was there, and what was communicated to you and the other actors about like the kind of energy that you were supposed to be bringing into that space?
Well, I love the word that you just used, like reinvention. That was something that they would definitely tell us throughout the season, that, this is different than how it was last season. We're coming in with new energy, with like a renewed sense of invigoration and reinvention of this space. And so, yeah, a lot of what you will see in the season, as we get through some of these episodes, you'll see this camaraderie that we have, right? Like the camaraderie of the new comic members, like the new team members, and how we interact with the established characters. You see this sense of newness there that wasn't there prior in the previous episode. So they definitely wanted to make sure that the energy was up, that we were close, that there was movement in the bullpen, that people were always, engaging with each other and really getting down to business, and doing this over here and doing this over there. It was just supposed to be like a flurry of energy. And we definitely did our best to bring that across the camera, you know.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely effective, and never more so than in the weekly website indexing contest that we're going to see in that same episode. I mean, it's a real, it's a real like, this is what Comet is.
Yeah.
That particular scene is fun. It's high energy. It's controlled chaos in the
Yeah.
scene.
Yeah.
Lorraine and the pot stickers win.
Yeah.
Very exciting. Haley is like, don't hoist me in the air. You get all of that.
Yeah.
We get Gordon getting pied in the face. It's just a lot going on
Mhm.
with every single person who was on set. So, or with everybody who was in the scene. So what did that feel like for you being on set for this?
That that was a long day. That was a really long shoot day, and it was enjoyable. I mean, we loved every minute of it. The good thing about this experience, and about this episode, about the experience in general, is that I was actually really close to the people in my crew and in my group. I developed really close friendships with Rob, with Wes, with Adam, and with Richard. And so having that sense of camaraderie, or the playful competition in this episode really helped make it feel real. And then of course with Susanna, we got really close with her as well. So it was nice to have that sense of community off the screen as well as on the screen. But yeah, with this episode in particular, there were a lot of takes because there's so much energy, there's so much happening, and we wanted to make sure that people weren't stepping over each other's lines, or that we were getting the blocking correct. So it did run a lot longer than I think any of us anticipated. But on the flip side, we did the pie in the face that was done in one take. So there was a lot of prep. There was a lot of okay, this is exactly how we have to get this angle. I mean, I don't even think they had more than one pie. They were like, all we have is one pie, so we have to do this right. And so I remember they like lined the floor with plastic, and they had the cameras protected, like everything was protected. And they're like, okay, make sure it's this many feet. And I mean, they just had it measured down to the T, when it came time for pie in the face. And we actually made a bet with the director, as to if she could do it in one take. And some people were like, no, she can't, we're gonna have to go back and like make another pie, or something. And I think I was one of the people that bet that she couldn't do it in one take. And then some people made a bet that she could, and of course she felt like she could do it in one take. And so then it happened, and we were just like, oh man, like it worked, it worked. And I remember her saying like, oh, you owe me like $20. I was like, oh, I'll take it out of my paycheck or something like that. I don't remember, but yeah, that was definitely a fun day.
Oh wow. Okay, this is fun. When I think about that scene practically, because you're all shouting and talking over each other, it seems, at least from what we're seeing in the final scene. So I don't even know how you edit something like that. Like,
Yeah.
to get the different coverage and then try to get everything together. It's like, how do you match it all up? But from watching it back, it doesn't jump out to, like, it looks like it was all just like a multi-camera shoot with that one take.
There you
It's
go. Yeah.
brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so Susanna makes a big splash on the show this season. She's the older Haley. So tell us about working with Susanna.
She was really sweet. Really, really sweet. I mean, it was almost like a little sister, um, on set. She, again, it was really early on in her career too. So this was one of her biggest roles to date. And so she was learning a lot, and I was learning a lot too. So it was nice being able to, have these newer actors learning from these senior actors in real time. So I just felt like, I don't know, like a little protective, like she's like a little sister to us, and she just fit into our comic group so effortlessly. It was so nice. And then I remember when she cut her hair, or when she was going to have to do that, she was a little apprehensive, and we were just kind of talking to her, talking her through it. We're like, it's gonna be okay, it'll grow back. It's just hair. And then when she came back after the fact, she's like, I actually like it. And she was just like, going through and everything. But yeah, it was really awesome. having her on set. We still keep in touch from time to time on social media too. So it's good to
Aw.
see, how she's grown and what she's doing now.
Yeah. Oh, that's so lovely to hear. We're going to get a couple sort of, in my head, they're connected sequences, but in 406, we're going to see a connection is made. That's the episode. Joe is working on getting footage for a commercial for Comet.
Mm-hmm.
And he's asking everybody in the office what they think of when they think of the internet. So we're just getting a chance to sort of go around to different characters and get them to respond to that. But it feels it feels documentary style in terms of how it's shot. I love the choices. Lorraine is so busy with work. She doesn't even look at the camera. She's like a computer and she just like keeps intently typing.
Yeah.
What do you remember about filming this, especially because, the style of it looks a little bit different from everything else we're seeing?
Yeah, so this is one of those times where, if you remember, I said, she's very serious about her work. And usually she's happy go lucky, but when it's time to like get to work, that's what she's focused on. And so if people are um interrupting that or distracting her, it's one of those things where like you're going to see that side of her where it's like, don't mess with me right now. And so that's kind of the energy that was coming through in that moment, and that's how I was directed to play that. So I feel like I was really in line and in step with the director with what we both thought was Lorraine's point of view in that episode. So I feel like that was great. But yeah, and it also goes to show like a little bit of the arc, because you'll see in the later episodes how she changes being in that space and in that environment. But specifically for this part, she's really kind of just like no nonsense, like let me get this done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But then we do see, so in 409, which is search,
Mhm.
Lorraine has come out of her shell, or we've caught her at a moment where she's not so busy, and she's in the actual commercial for Comet.
Mhm.
And the question that everybody's answering is, what are you looking for? Her answer is going to be bootlegs, but she even gives the camera a little smile on that one.
Yeah.
One of the things, so I'd love to know, first of all, I'd love to know for you, like, it sounds like that was a very intentional arc. So first talk about sort of what your thought was on her growth.
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the beginning, like you said, she's coming from Tower Records. She is new kid on the block, um, and she wants to prove herself. And so I took that energy of like, I'm happy go lucky, I'm easygoing. I'm really serious about my work when it comes down to it. It's a little compartmentalized at first, where it's just like I really want to focus on my work and I'll be nice like when people interact with me and this and third. But as the season progresses, you see how we get closer and we start to become more of a family. And I think that's what you're seeing in episode 409, is that the walls have started to come down. She's starting to blend in more um with like the energy and the, I guess, the, what is the word that I'm looking for? Um I don't know, the vibe.
The culture.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the culture. Yes, that is the word I'm looking for. She's starting to like really see the culture of Comet, and I don't know, I just think that arc to me is beautiful. And she's starting to just open up more, and you see this other side of her start
Mhm.
to blossom.
Yeah. And 409, this is a really interesting sequence because it just practically speaking, even in terms of how this is shot, because the team is going to be watching this finished commercial together.
Mm-hmm.
It's on, I guess it's being projected onto a screen.
Yeah, in the
And the lights
bullpen.
are out and everybody's watching it.
Yep.
So that's one piece of it. Gordon is shown in the commercial who has passed away in a
Mm-hmm.
previous episode. So there's mourning, there's this scene in the dark, there's people reacting to this commercial. Um, what was it like filming this on the day, both in terms of what it felt like to be on set, but also just technically speaking, were you watching anything on the screen? How were you being cued in? Because we're just supposed to really hear the team reacting. So what was this day for you?
Yeah, I mean, we were seeing things on the screen, and we are being told by the director what's going on and how we're supposed to react to these moments. And again, this is one of those moments where uh something traumatic like his death is bringing the office together. Everyone is coming together to honor his memory and then to push forward what's going on, right? And so I feel like that was definitely a pivotal moment of the season. um and it brought back more of this like this wide view of like, this is why we do what we do, and it kind of, like I said, we're starting to near the end, and we're like tying everything in this nice neat little bow of like, this is us, like this is what we do, and in this moment we're doing it for Gordon.
Yeah, it really roots it all in his legacy.
Yeah.
Which is just such a beautiful touch to have with it. The office is a lot, well, for obvious reasons, darker and quieter at this point. Um, and that seems to be an intentional stylistic choice that we're getting post Gordon's death. What were some of the changes that you saw in how the show was showing us post Gordon?
Um, I mean, we're definitely moving slower and more intentional, right? Like in the beginning of the season and those earlier episodes, we're seeing all this energy, all of this flurry, all of this like, come on, we got to work, we're doing the competitions, and we're like, trying really hard and really fast to get this information out of there. This climax happens, right? This sudden change, and now we're reeling and we're um processing, and now things are a little bit more deliberate and a little bit more I don't necessarily want to say slower, but I like deliberate. um and I think that's probably like the biggest shift
Hmm.
there.
What do you remember about working with Scoot McNairy?
um Really funny guy. It's funny because everyone has their own personalities, right? Like Lee is more like quieter, more like pointed, more keeps to himself. Scoot was like more fiery, more like, not in everybody's business, but like approachable. Like everybody can go up to him, talk to him, like, whatever the case. And so he was definitely kind of around our group more. We had a chance to interact with him a lot more. So I just remember him being really fun. I'm not going to say starstruck, but definitely admired him from his work. I'd seen him on Argo, I'd seen him on 12 Years a Slave, I'd seen him on like, so many of these other films and shows. So it to me it was just like a crazy wow moment to be able to work with him, and then to be able to laugh with him. That was, yeah, it was something. something
Oh,
awesome. And then Mackenzie too. I mean, another starstruck moment. I loved her in Black Mirror, and I made sure to tell her that. She was like, "Oh, thank you, it was such a great experience." I mean, everybody was so down to earth, and it was just, yeah, it was really special being able to work with them.
hmm. One of the things, obviously, the show is a contemporary period piece. So at this point in the show, we're firmly in the 90s. And, even just the fact that Lorraine worked at Tarot Records is very 90s detail. What were some of your favorite 90s details that were put into the show that you could see?
So I had some details with my character that I really loved, and then details um within the bullpen. So um we were almost exclusively in that bullpen, and it was, I mean, it was immaculately decorated. I mean, set deck did just a great job. We were in a sound stage just outside of Atlanta, and so you walk into the soundstage, and it's a normal big warehouse, but you go in there and it is like, it is small. Like it looks like an office, and you've got, these computers. We loved our computers the most. Everybody loved the computers. They were so realistic, but the screens, it's just the one screen. They're not real computers at all, but they're so realistic. And the screen is like some kind of matte. I don't know. I don't know how they did it, and made it look so realistic. But we were just typing on these keyboards, and it didn't do anything because there were no real screens. But so we loved the computers. We loved like our little knickknacks, our slinkies, and things like that. I remember speaking with the costume director with regard to my costumes for Lorraine, and we had settled on emulating Queen Latifah from Living Single. And so when you see how she's dressed, you'll see a lot of that influence. And my ears are gauged, and they were gauged at the time, which is like not very 90s, not very of that time. And so she worked with me to like find some earrings that would like go well at the time. And so these are some of the earrings that I had, and I still use them to this day, like um for some auditions. So I just remember like speaking with her in great detail. Like she got me like 4 or 5 different pair of gauged earrings, that could go with. They were just so specific and so detailed in the types of uh the way they wanted us to look and the way that they wanted the world to look. So I was really, really grateful for that. And I just remember loving my Tims, loving my baggy jeans, Yeah, I felt like I was growing up again, in the 90s.
Aw, that's so cool. Yeah, and was there anything like uh just on set? Because you mentioned set deck had a lot between the computers and everything. Were there any like decorations on the walls or anything that you remember?
Ooh, I mean, there were I remember posters. I remember posters of like older shows, older films. I do you remember those classic inspirational posters where it's like, I don't know, like to be better, and they would have like um the images of like something in the wild or whatever, and then just like, be your best self or something, but it was like, it's like from the 80s.
Yeah.
um I don't remember that the campaign that it was, but like they definitely had those posters like all around to inspire us to be our best selves. So definitely
Oh,
remember those. I remember we would do you know the the little games where you have to put your nose like really close to the image and then like relax your eyes,
Yeah.
and you come out and relax your eyes and then you see the image when you relax it. We had those.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I haven't thought
I
about
mean,
those in a
very,
long time.
very specific things from that time period. So yeah, I mean, we just had a blast playing with everything that was in that was on that set.
Oh, that's so cool to hear. Even just when I was prepping for this and I was just sitting with the fact that Lorraine worked at Tower Records, I was like, oh, yeah. I was just remembering all of my Tower Records memories.
Yeah.
So wild. Oh my gosh, what a trip down memory lane. For you, what are some of your most memorable moments from working on this show?
Well, I definitely brought up some. I think because I was newer in my career, this was earlier for me. Um, it allowed me to see what it was like being on set for more than one day, like seeing the system, seeing the like the cogs work and how uh like how everything comes together, how every um department plays their part. And so it was just memorable for me to observe it, like observe working closely with the director for like multiple episodes, working closely with the costume designer. Um, she was definitely one of my closest people who was staffed, who was like a staff member.
Was that Jennifer?
I believe so.
Yeah,
I believe so. It was so long ago.
I'll say
I've
Jennifer
forgotten.
Bryan, maybe.
But I remember she was of Jamaican descent, and I was telling her of different places that she could go to in Atlanta because she came out of Arizona, and so she a lot of people didn't really know what there was to offer in Atlanta, and so me being an Atlanta local actor, I was able to kind of tell people the best places to eat. And so I remember giving her a recommendation for some Jamaican food, and she came back one day and she was like, "Oh my God, that place was amazing. We don't have Jamaican food like that in Arizona, so thank you for this." And so I just love the great relationships that I had built through my time on set. Again, my time with Kate and with Rich and Rob and Wes. We all got really close and still keep in touch. Like I said, I ran into Rob on the Beltline here in Atlanta a couple months ago, and I mean, we just gave each other a huge hug. And yeah, I was there with my girlfriend, he was there with his girlfriend, and it was like we were on Halt and Catch Fire together. And it's just you make these real friendships. And yeah, so I would say that was it wasn't one memory in particular, but just that time is so fond. I've had some of the best times on set in my career on that show.
I mean, since this was so early on for you in your career and you were observing what was the way set worked, was there any particular like really big learning for you from a work standpoint?
Um, I would say the amount of time that it takes to really learn a character, and build a character. It has always been for me like doing like a one day or something really small, one liner. You kind of just you do it, you do your job and you leave. But I had time to really figure out how I wanted Lorraine to operate and how I wanted her to move through her world. And so I feel like that was probably one of the first times when I was able to really sit with the character and like kind of fall in love with her, you know, and so when it was time to go, time to release it, I was sad because I was like, man, I've been in this world and in this space for the better part of, I think it was like 2 months or something like that, that we had done these episodes.
Hmm. Is there anybody else? I mean, you had a chance to shout out a number of people that you worked with, both in front of and behind the camera, or just cast and crew. Is there anybody else that you didn't get a chance to shout out that you want to make sure you've mentioned here?
Mm. No, I think that was everyone. Um,
I mean, you got a bunch of people in there.
I
Yeah.
did get it. Yeah, no, yeah, I got everybody. You know who I do want to shout out? This is a funny story. This is like kind of unrelated, but I want to shout out my brother
Okay.
because I was supposed to be in his wedding, his first wedding. He's since remarried, but at the time he was getting married, and the wedding day was the first day of filming for this show. So I had done the audition, I'd done the callback, and um, you know, my mom was like, "Well, are you gonna be at the wedding? Are you going?" And when I actually booked it, I was like, "Yeah, it looks like I'm not gonna be able to go." So I had to call my brother, and I said, "Well, I have some good news and I have some bad news." And so I told him that I would not be making it to his wedding, but that it was because I was going to be on this show. And he forgave me, and he forgave me so well that for his second wedding, I ended up officiating the whole thing. So
Did you start with yo?
I should have. I should have.
I
I
can't get
definitely.
over that story.
Yeah, my
I'm
brother
still on
still
it.
answers the phone with yo sometimes.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, the
Well, look, I
things
know
we
it's
do.
been a really weird time in your industry. So, I guess my question here is like, is there anything that you've done since Halt and Catch Fire that you want to mention, make sure we've seen, or is there anything that you're working on that you can talk about? But yeah, we'll keep that question nice and broad because I know it's been a strange last several years.
Yeah.
But what should we know about that you've worked on?
Yeah, I mean, I've since gone on. I mean, we've all gone on to continue on in our careers and progress. I had probably the biggest booking of my career last year. I booked a series regular role on a NBC comedy show called Non-Evil Twin. It was a pilot. They unfortunately didn't move forward with it. And then the strike happened. So then it just like everything just kind of fell apart. But that was an amazing experience. And I think that kind of solidified that I am in fact, on the right path in the right industry, and I am doing what I'm called to do. Comedy is the love of my life, and I will continue to do that. I've made some really great friends from that experience and from all of my experiences, all the films and shows that I've done up until this point. Um, After that experience, I kind of dug deep and I was like, well, I I had a goal that I wanted to attain, and I finally did it. And I was like, wow, all right, I can say that I'm a series regular. Whether you see it or not doesn't matter. It happened. So since then, I was like, well, it would be cool to be a series regular on my own show. So I teamed up with a great friend of mine, and we have written a pilot of our own, and pitch deck and putting that together. I was working on that earlier today before you called, and yeah, we already have a meeting with a producer next week, and we're pitching the show. So yeah.
We're all rooting for you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah.
That's so
Yeah.
exciting.
Yeah.
Actually, well, should we follow your IMDb to see what happens with that, or what, like, how can we
Absolutely. Yeah,
figure out
absolutely.
what happens with this story?
Yeah, so I'm on IMDb, I'm Melanie J. Newby. And on all social media, I'm the real Newby. Newby with a Y. And yeah, I will definitely keep you all posted as to what happens with the show. And I've got a lot of other shows in the works. I think this was kind of me um, breaking the ice on my writing skills and production skills. So yeah, we'll see how this goes, and I look forward to making more shows, making more pilots, and continuing to be the steward of my own career and opportunities.
This is amazing. Well, I hope the momentum just builds for you from here.
Yeah.
But can't wait to see how it goes for you. And thank you so much for taking time to talk about your
Thank you.
experience on this show.
Thank you for having me. I mean, this again, this is such a treat, It's not often that we get to talk about the things that we've done in our past. It's usually like, oh, what are you doing now, or what are you getting into? But like, to sit in nostalgia for a little bit and think about like what I have done, is really nice. So thank you for
Oh,
this.
I'm so glad to hear that. And to everybody who's watching this interview, go out there and watch Halt and Catch Fire.
100%.
Bye,
100%. You know
everybody.
what? I might need to do it myself. I might need to start a marathon.
Let's do it. Let's all do it together. Come join the Rewatch podcast recaps.
Oh, I'm here for it. I'm here for it. Where are you at?
I'm based in the LA area.
Okay. Well, I'm coming to LA. I'm moving back next year, so
Well, look at all the good news that's happening here.
yeah. Yeah, there we go. So
Oh my goodness. Well, to everybody who's watching this, enjoy the show, and I'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.